this overarching theme at Barbell Logic, and maybe the primary thing that we do here, is that we're a people company. We are a people company. We're about people. We're about service. We're about providing the best experience and the quality of life changes that we can make for people. You're listening to Barbell Logic, brought to you by Barbell Logic Online Coaching, where each week we take a systematic walk through strength training and the refining power of voluntary hardship.
Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast. I am Scott Hambrick, and I've got two giant heads in front of me on my screen here. We're doing this remote on Zoom.us. I've got Bill Hannon's head on the left, Matt Reynolds' head on the right. It's amazing. I wish you guys could see it. I may take a screenshot and put this on my Instagram so you guys can see it. It's a lot of forehead.
Bill needs a bigger beard and a mustache.
No.
That's what you're missing, Bill, is a mustache.
So, like when my beard starts to grow in now, there's too much gray in it, and that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, look at this thing.
What do you think it does
white
to kids?
But if mine was centered on the chin like that, that looks very distinguished. Mine's just like,
Yeah, it does.
the place, so like I'll have patches and shit. Nobody.
How does it look again, Bill? It looks very what?
What did I say? Distinguished.
Distinguished. Yes, it does. In fact, it does.
It looks to me like he's been eating something weird, Bill.
He looks like a guy that has a giant library that's covered in wood, and it's got bottles and bottles of bourbon, and he just sits up there and smokes his cigars. That's what Matt's goatee looks like.
It's not a goatee, it's a beard.
Well, the centerpiece.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the beard is brown and the goatee is gray.
Right.
So my body's decided it wants to have two separate. I've got a two-tone beard.
Yeah, so I shave.
very
I shave
frustrating.
every day to avoid all of this.
Yeah.
Never trust a man with a beard.
Really?
Yeah, they're hiding
Why is-
something.
Yeah, I'm hiding my double chin.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you need to own all those chins.
No.
Think about
no,
all the people
no.
that only have one, and you've
No.
got twice as many. That's something to be proud of.
I know, but everything on my body that's slightly too small, I hide, and everything on my body that's slightly too big, I also hide. So all my shirts are sort of like tight in the arms and shoulders and big in the belly, right?
So you
they're
buy like these inverted cone T-shirts. They're not tapered.
No, can't have that. Got to be tight in the upper part and loose in the lower.
I see. So we've been doing this we are in our third. Let me see. Is this right? We're in our third
2
August,
years, right?
This is our third
Is that
August.
right? 17. Oh, yeah, it's our third August.
Yeah.
That's true. Hadn't been 3 years, but it is our third August.
And I don't know, some years ago, you did a show about the vision you had for your company, and you wanted to do that again.
Yeah, man. So, this business started as for online coaching. Online coaching was we were trying to provide expert coaches for people who didn't have access to expert coaches. That was really what it was, and that's what it's continued to be. And certainly that's really the center of our wheelhouse. And it's online coaching. When you start there, the online coaching thing is interesting because the market is so saturated with online coaching, isn't it? I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere you go. There's online coaching. Go to Instagram. Everybody online coaches. Like you got some girl that's taking pictures of her butt, and she's offering online coaching. And every professional bodybuilder and powerlifter does online coaching. And so I guess the first thing for us that we really wanted to do is that we wanted to just actually coach. We wanted to coach. And we wanted to work through people's movements. We wanted to teach them technique and focus on form and consistency, and certainly programming is part of that. But I think the thing that separates us from most of the other companies with Barbell Logic Online Coaching is that we've got a bunch of really good people who are great at teaching the movement and coaching the movements in the basic barbell lifts, and then I think a big part of it that has come out of that is the culture that we have at Barbell Logic. So Barbell Logic is we're a people company, we're about service. And we try to do what's best for our clients and for our staff and what brings them value. And that's created this community that we didn't know how it was going to work out because online coaching in sort of its natural state is sort of impersonal. And we work really hard to try to make it as personal as we can. And so if you're a client of ours, you probably have a good relationship with your coach. And, if you're not a client of ours yet, we hope that the day is coming when we can introduce you to a coach that won't just be your coach, but it'll be somebody who's your friend that you would like, even if they weren't your coach. And that's a big part of what we do at Barbell Logic, is that online coaching piece. And so, we've been able to provide a system that works for really everybody who can afford it. And we've tried to provide opportunities for different cost options so that most people out there in the Western world, if it's something they decide is valuable for them, they can afford this thing.
Yeah, so for me, one of the really cool things to think about is how we've really evolved, going back just a handful of years to where it all started. And, Matt, you were doing this on your own at first, but like you quickly realized that there was a market there that was going to support a larger number of coaches. But even that started with, yourself and me and Flanick and Cody and just a handful of coaches. And it's really cool to think about like our processes and our structure going from, all the way back three and a half years ago to where we're at now, and how we've built kind of like the behind the scenes of just what we do for the online coaching, and how hard we really work to make it as good as we can for the clients. Like, your staff is exploded. You've got people on salaried staff that are devoted. Andrew Jackson, that's his day-to-day job, is to make sure that our online coaching product is as good as it can possibly be for our clients day to day, to make sure our coaches are doing the best that they can. They've got all the tools that they need. They've got all the processes that they need, so that they're providing the best service, but also that they get a chance to work in an environment that's really efficient for them as well. So to me, that's been amazing to see how much that has grown just over 3 years, going from, we were using TrueCoach, which back then was Fitbot, but we also had a forum, we had, other software, and now we've got something that's pretty slick and streamlined. But just our communication internally as a team, how we work together, and all the stuff that we do to make the whole thing work is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think it takes a group of people who understand what they're good at and what they're not good at, right? And so the amount of trust that we have to have for each other on the leadership team to say, like, here's what I'm good at and here's where I struggle. And so we need to put people in place who are good at the things that I'm not. I think that's one of the kind of driving forces behind who we are. And so you look at these people who are leadership at Barbell Logic. You look at somebody like Nikki Berman, who is this incredible administrator. I mean, she's just, she's type A and OCD and attention to detail. And I mean all those things in positive ways, not negative ways. And so things don't slip through the cracks with her. And by the way, she's phenomenal at talking to people about what we do and doing sales for us. And she's sort of like accidentally, because she's an administrator, she's accidentally become really good at sales because she just loves what we do so much. She just is honest with people about what we're doing, and people buy in because she's actually authentic. This is a big part of it. And then, though it's interesting to watch the way your role has changed over the last several years, from a guy who really helped us write systems and standard operating procedures with, you're an engineer in your background, so you're wired that way. It's very systematic and logical. And you have your job has transitioned to one of primary educator. You're an educator. You coach coaches, and you coach people who want to be coaches how to be coaches. And nobody else on staff could do that as well as you. And it's been really incredible to watch that. But we've got other people. I mean, Nikki Sims does the same thing for our staff that Andrew does for our clients, where Nikki Sims works her entire job to make sure that our staff gets value out of this job. Like, you think about, God, we have thousands of people who are listening to this podcast right now. And they're like, I hate my job. They get up every morning. They hate it. They live for the weekend, right? They live for the grill and the steak and the drinking a beer and watching the Chiefs game. And the smoothbore occasionally. And and that's their life, and like, I hope that the vast majority of our coaches unless they're just completely bullshitting me, like, they love what they get to do. They get to do this thing where they get to help people get better and provide quality of life improvements via strength training, and they get to do it when they want and where they want. Like that's awesome, you know? And so, man, it's just all of our staff is like this. You think about a guy like Nick Solin and the content he puts out for us. You think about Alexis Wolfer and the marketing, the digital marketing stuff she does. That's her background. But, oh, by the way, she's a phenomenal strength coach too. So there are people out there that are great at digital marketing, but they don't have any idea what we do. As a matter of fact, she tells stories about when she worked at a digital marketing firm and companies would come to her and, you know, they're selling shampoo. And you're supposed to come up with these like home run ads about shampoo, but you don't know anything about shampoo. We've got this team that's incredible at marketing what we do because they understand exactly what we do.
Yeah, these coaches aren't going through the motions.
Our coaches love this, and they have empathy and they care about their clients, and their clients feel that. And so they build trust with their coaches quickly. And our coach turnover rate is really low, which means the chances that you're going to get to stay with the same coach, it's not guaranteed, but the chances that you're going to stay with the same coach for a long time is pretty good. And so that's a big part of it. We really spend a lot of time trying to develop relationships and community with our clients. And so I think when our clients sign up for the online coaching system, then they feel part of something special because they are part of something special because we all feel that way. It's not something we're selling, it's something we're part of. And so, so, you know, as a client, if you sign up for online coaching and you're part of the online coaching, you're paired with a coach who will help you reach your goals specifically because they're good with whatever your goals are or whatever your demographic is. And I think that's pretty cool that you got somebody that can say, hey, like I'm used to working with people just like you who are after goals like yours. Like, that's pretty cool. And so that's the online coaching piece. But what's crazy is that that's how this business started. But this business has continued to morph into so much more, right? So we saw this massive expansion in the content market in the last 18 months with the podcast, which was accidental, right? Like we're doing this podcast. You and I, Scott, did it. It really didn't have anything to do with online coaching in the beginning. It was just the thing that you and I put out for fun and to get our ideas out there. And it's kind of hit a nerve, and it's resonated with people, and of course we've expanded to YouTube and the written articles, and so we're just trying to put out good content. And I think that really comes down to the fact that we've established a culture of learning at Barbell Logic from our staff down to our clients all the way to what would be our future potential clients, is that we're trying to educate people in the values of strength training. And it's one of those things that I think separates us from other companies who strength train for the sake of strength training. Like that's it. That's the end goal. It's just strength training. But for us, we see that there's something more to that than just strength. Like that's where those ideas of voluntary hardship come in. Like we believe that it actually makes us better people. It makes us better husbands. It makes us better wives or moms or dads or citizens or whatever. So those things are important. And then really what's been crazy over the last 6 months is this expansion into, we started to see, and we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients, and they were like, they fell in love with this thing because it changed their life. And they started to say, man, I want to be a professional barbell coach. I want to learn how to coach, but I don't know how to do that. Is there anything out there to help teach me how to coach? And at first it was maybe I just want to know how to coach my wife or coach my friends or coach my coworkers or coach my kids. And it has morphed even more to like, man, actually I think that I love this so much. This might be something I want to pursue as a second job. And then for some people it actually has become their primary job. And so Bill, what's the Academy look like? We launched the Academy in October of 18, right? October 1st of 18.
Yeah. That was something that I had kind of worked on the side for a while. And then, like you said, it was obvious that there was a demand for it that was larger than we had initially thought. And we were able to develop a program and launch it and move it forward. And it was very successful. And the response has been very positive. Everyone loves it.
Why is it different than like in the past? Like their path is, I can go do an exercise science degree. Why wouldn't I just sign up for an exercise science degree or exercise physiology degree? What's the difference in the Academy versus like going to college and going to do this thing?
I think the biggest difference has been our ability to distill what they need in terms of knowledge and skill into a pretty tight package.
Yeah, it's very practical. When you say exercise science, if I told someone, define exercise science for me and tell me what that encompasses, you're going to get a lot of answers. But we actually know what is required in order to turn someone into an excellent barbell coach, and that is what this encompasses. Exercise science can kind of be whatever the department head wants it to be.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, it's exercise science is a program that perhaps anyone from, okay, you're going to graduate and go to Gold's Gym and make $15 an hour, to you're going to graduate and you're going to go to DPT school and go on to become a physical therapist. That's a huge range of outcomes. Like, we're able to break the system of coaching down into the required knowledge and required skills and abilities and teach specifically that. And like I said, it's a pretty tight yet comprehensive 26-week program, and people come out the other end and they're much better coaches, and they also have a really, really good idea of what they need to do to improve and get better. So, like, when I think back to kind of like the genesis of the whole coaching academy is like, I became a coach, I quit my engineering job, transitioned to coaching full time, and I'm looking around, and I'm looking at kind of like the training of new coaches that are coming up, because I'm friends with other people that want to be coaches, and talking to people on Facebook. And it seemed like the common advice was just go get some more experience. That's the only way that you can get better at this. Like, this is super complicated. Like, we can't even teach it. Just go go coach as many people as you can. And to me, that was strikingly bad advice. Because I came from a background where I went through extensive training to do what I needed to do for my day-to-day job. I had friends that were in other professions, pilots. I was in engineering. You can name any number of really complicated, really complex professions that require a high degree of skill and knowledge, which is exactly what coaching is. And go through those and look at them and figure out, like, okay, how many of these are just like, okay, we're gonna throw you out in the ocean and let you figure out how to swim. None of them. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, pilots, none of them. So it kind of struck me as odd. And the more I talked to other people, the more I thought about it myself. And you start breaking it down. It's like, okay, like, you can start to see systems, subsystems in all this stuff, and patterns and everything. And if you can recognize that kind of thing, you can figure out how to teach this stuff. And that's kind of how it was all born. It went from the consensus being, well, we can't really teach you how to do this. This is too much of an art. Just go coach as many people as you can and come back in a couple of years when you're ready, to us being able to say, yeah, you're going to have to get a lot of coaching experience. You're going to have to coach a lot of people in person, because that's a big part of it. And there are some soft skills. There are some parts of it that you can't get other than through repetition and practice. But we can also hand you a whole bunch of tools to really speed up the timeline. We can teach you how we know to fix this stuff, because we had to learn through experience ourselves, and it happened over the course of several years. But now, if we condense that info down into something that we can hand to you, guess how much faster you get to learn?
Yeah, I was really surprised. It's when we got ready to launch the academy, I thought, well, this is great, because we need a path to create professional coaches who can potentially do this for us. Like, they could work for us, they could work for themselves, but like, there isn't that path to become that. There were just places that identified professional coaches, and we saw a need to, like, man, we actually can help walk people through the path to become a professional, specifically a barbell coach, a strength coach, but not just a strength coach, right? To understand anatomy and kinesiology and movement biomechanics and physics, and then the expansion into intermediate and advanced programming and nutrition and how to deal with like aches and pains in the gym, and all those sorts of things have been distilled down into a pretty tight little package for people to do the thing that we do. We've been able to distill that. It's been really, really cool. And dude, the curriculum that you've written, Bill, is, again, I don't think there's anybody better on earth to be able to write that stuff. And what's been wild is to watch our coaches coach it and walk through that curriculum and come out of it and go, oh my God, like I learned so much just teaching the class, like teaching the class. So something we never thought about was the benefit of our coaches teaching those academy classes. So you can spend whatever an exercise science degree costs, right? Or you can go to a coaching academy and spend $179 a month for 6 months. And I don't want to overstate it, but we've had many, many of our students who have exercise science degrees take the academy and come out and be like, I learned exponentially more in the 6 months in the coaching academy than I did in my entire exercise science degree program.
There's something to be said for vocational training, and vocational training has like a bad stigma around it.
Negative connotation.
Yeah,
oh, you're a dummy. You should go be a welder.
Yeah, but man, there is no way to learn how to weld but burning up a bunch of stick. There's
That's
just
right.
you've got to do the thing, and this is a very vocational approach. You have to learn a lot of theory, and you have to learn a lot of technicals to actually be able to do the very practical thing, which is the barbell coaching vocation. But that is the difference, I think, between this and an exercise science degree. One is purely theoretical and doesn't teach you where and how the rubber meets the road, and this would do that.
Yeah, it's full. You get the practical and the academic with there. Yeah.
Bill's Votech.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Has anybody? I guess part of the thing that's crazy is that why has nobody else done this? Isn't it weird? Some of these professional certifications that are recognized, like for Division I or to be a professional strength and conditioning coach, it's weird because they don't teach you how to actually coach. It's really strange. Like they don't teach you the actual practical, applicable skills that you need to know how to do this, right? It's so strange. So you've got all these other jobs where you go through like on the job training, or like here's the actual skills you need to learn, and nobody else did that. So this has been really interesting. So the academy's gone great. We've had several hundred people go through, and I think the exciting thing that we have on the horizon, and I think it's okay that I say this on this podcast, and we'll talk more in detail probably on the next podcast about this, is that one thing that you've been working on now for quite some time, we've been working on at Barbell Logic, is a future certification, is a certification that can identify professional barbell coaches, and not just professional barbell coaches, but master coaches. So to teach people so the academy and the academy camps teach people the academic, the theoretical, the hands-on, the practical, like that's where the teaching occurs, right? Is in the academy. And then we said, well, we've got to have a place to identify these professional barbell coaches.
Yeah. I think we basically just identified the need to have a very comprehensive, also very objective and very repeatable certification to find our new coaches.
Yeah. The coaches need to know what's expected of them. When they go to that testing process, I think sometimes those things are shrouded in enigma, and we don't want that. Like, here's exactly what's going to be expected of you on a platform. Here's what you're going to be graded on when it comes time to watch you teach and coach a squat.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because there certainly is soft skills involved in coaching, but there's no reason why we can't identify the soft skill needs as well and put a rubric to that also and test for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of coming in the pipeline, right? So my brother, when he started his business, he was a banking software guy, and he thought he was always going to do banking software. And then one day there was sort of a pivot into insurance software. And now he runs a very successful insurance software company. And for us, when we started, it was just online coaching. That was all we did was online. And it was just barbell coaching, right? And over time, like the market starts to say like, hey, so we had people come to us like, hey, we need to do nutrition too. And we talked about it as a staff. We're like, man, yeah, we need to have nutrition. So we started to provide nutrition coaching. We brought in registered dietitians that were unbelievable. And we said like, hey, we've got to do this. And then had people come on and say, but I don't know everything I need to know. We need I need more content. I need to learn this stuff. We noticed that our clients, as we got deeper and deeper, and after we had picked the low-hanging fruit, we would have these clients come in. They didn't know what we did. They didn't know that, oh, holy shit. They would sign up for online coaching. Like, wait, I'm gonna barbell train. You're not going to put me on a treadmill. So we start churning out this content. We've got the podcast and the YouTube and the articles and all those sorts of things. And then those people that train with us for several years started going like, man, I want to become a coach. How do I become a professional barbell coach? And so we created the academy and we taught them how to become a professional barbell coach. And now the question is like, well, how do I actually know that I've met the standard? And so now we've got this standard that we're releasing. And so we've got our professional barbell coaching certification that's coming out in the fall of 19. And then the master strength and conditioning coach certification, the MSC, will come out in early 2020. And you'll know you'll know what's expected of you. And it will be as objective as it can possibly be, and it will be repeatable. And I'm super excited about what's coming. And then all of that is still part of this overarching theme at Barbell Logic, and maybe the primary thing that we do here is that we're a people company. We are a people company. We're about people. We're about service. We're about providing the best experience and the quality of life changes that we can make for people. It's not about purely content or purely money or profit or like, man, we're a business. Like, I don't want to act like it's making money's cool. But ultimately, I want to bring value to people. And part of that for me is like, when I'm doing things that don't bring me value, it robs me of joy. And so I want to be able to bring people value. And so for us, doing things like the way we do online coaching or the way we teach people how to be coaches, or, gosh, we want to have future like these, like we want to do seminars and lifting camps and things like that, like workshops for people that are just for the lifters. That's just enjoyable and fun. It doesn't have to, like, you can learn how to lift and you can socialize with the coaches and you can meet the Matt Reynolds and the Nikki Sims and the Andrew Jacksons and the Bill Hannons and the Sullivans. And I mean, that's awesome for people. Like, that's what they want. And so really, I think it's part of this is just we've tried to be sensitive to the market and and sensitive to our people and go like, what do you guys want? Like, what is it, the thing that will bring you value? For our coaches, that for people who will become professional barbell coaches, we're trying to develop a system of best practices for their in-person coaching because that isn't out there either. People need help on how to be good in-person coaches, not how to coach, like not how to teach the lifts, but I don't know how to do the business stuff of this. Like, how do I do this and not go get a big business loan? I think you should start, and I think, Scott, you'd say the same thing. I think if you're going to start an in-person coaching service, you should start it in your garage or your basement or a spare bedroom or rent a couple squat racks out of a gym in town and like not go be a trainer at the Globo gym. And you grow that until you can open up a small location with no debt where you can have the cat, like, and then you grow that. Well, how do you do that? What are those business best practices to do that? How do I look at things like profitability per square foot? What about waivers? How do I make sure those are right? I don't know how to file a LLC. Like, those sort of things, like, people need help with those. And so like those are coming. I think you're going to see some partner gyms coming from us. But our vision is to continue to provide tremendous service and tremendous value for our online coaching clients in the online coaching realm, but to also provide that value for people who actually want to be coaches and provide a industry standard for how to know if they've met that standard. How do I know if I've met the standard to become a professional barbell coach? How do I know if I've met the standard to become a master coach? To provide the same value for in-person coaching, to grow your own business, because we love small business owners. We love this stuff. We want that for our people. And so that's really where my heart is. My heart is with people. I want to be a people company. I want people to think and know and trust that we care about them and we're empathetic. And I've said this before on the podcast before, like we've made jokes about the circle of empathy, like Reynolds' circle of empathy, right? Like my circle of empathy, there are way too many people in it. But it's just the way I'm wired, man. Like their wins are my wins and their losses are my losses. And I feel what they feel.
Matt Reynolds has a giant heart, both emotionally and physically.
It's
I've been enlarged heart in both realms. I think for us, we're always going to try to choose what's best for our people. And I think if we do that, I think that will be profitable for us. I think that will lead to growth. I can't guarantee it, But I'll tell you this, I'm not going to sacrifice people for profit. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, the key is to identify the right people.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the ones inside the circle of empathy. No, I don't.
Yeah, that's always the key.
Yeah, so that's us, man.
So here's a question. Can you be high EQ without empathy? Without having strong feelings yourself?
I think that empathy is highly overrated. It's hard to define. I think that we can understand what barbell training is like and draw on our own experience and understand that those people have a similar experience and then use that to help them. But I don't need to feel their pain in order to do that. And so many times when people are talking about empathy, they're actually talking about feeling that distress with the other person. And I think that's actually a barrier, particularly when you're asking people to do hard things. You have to have the moral courage sometimes to have to push people deep into their discomfort. And empathy in that way can be a barrier.
I was thinking the same thing the other day with some of my clients. Like, I will be more likely to give somebody a pass if I'm going through a shitty stretch of training.
Right.
I'm inconsistent. So I'm feeling empathy for the guy that's like, oh, I'm busy, wife's on my ass, whatever. It's like, yeah, I know, I get it. The Bill that's training every 3 or 4 times a week, it's like, fuck it, suck it up, get it done.
Yeah. If you're the second lieutenant, you've got to pick 3 guys to storm the machine gun nest. And those 3 guys have got to go, and they might not come back, but the rest of the platoon will be okay if they do their job right. And, and you might understand how scary that is, and you might know all of those things. But being empathetic for them in that moment is less important than being empathetic for the other 26 guys that are pinned down.
Sure.
Well, we can do a whole other hour show on pathological empathy and how people don't have boundaries around it and how people misplace it, on the 3 guys that are going to get their asses shot off, storming the machine gun nest, when they need to be thinking of that greater number of people that, in that instance anyway, that would have problems. And by the way, the older, brittle client who's frightened, who maybe just got out of a bad surgery to have their hip replaced, and they got that hip replaced because they've endured chronic pain that left them no choice, and they're scared to death of that stuff. And, the degree to which I go into that with them might cause me to coddle them.
Yeah, but I know that one of the things that refines me more than anything else is the ability to have hard conversations. I can have hard conversations with people. And you and I have had hard conversations. Actually, all 3 of us guys have had. I've had hard conversations with Bill. I've had hard conversations with Scott. And I don't know if you would have said that conversation was like a non-empathetic sort of thing, but like we had that conversation because you cared about me, and you weren't giving me a pass. We had a hard conversation because you cared. And to me, the people that I won't have the hard conversation with are the people that I do not care about.
Right. Roger that.
I just let it go, right? So I have hard conversations all the time with my staff. I have hard conversations with my clients. I have hard conversations with my wife and my kids. I mean hard conversations, like not enjoyable conversations a lot of times.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's largely semantic, but often I think in people's minds, this idea of sympathy is this sort of mushy, sympathetic permissiveness,
Yeah, and that's not at all what I'm talking about. I am not a bleeding heart sort of like, let's just cry on each other's shoulders and hug each other and tell each other it's going to be okay. That gets nothing done. I think one of the things about having empathy, or at least the way I interpret it, maybe it's just semantics, is understanding when you need to give somebody a hug and encourage them, and when you need to light a fire under their ass and chew their ass. And listen, for me, that's a big part of what we do is we try to pair people who sign up for our services with coaches and mentors and professors and master coaches who will get them, and that doesn't mean who will give them the free pass and who will always give them the hug, but it also isn't somebody who's going to always chew your ass. It's somebody who's going to understand who you are and what you need, And so that's actually it's probably one of the most important jobs we have because, and I've talked about this before, Scott, I don't know you're an online coach for us. You're a great online coach for us. I don't know your clients.
Yeah.
Like the business is big enough now that I don't really know most of your clients. I mean, I know some of your clients because you're in Tulsa and sometimes we've trained together. But for most of my coaches, I don't know their clients. So the question is, who are my clients? Well, I think my clients primarily are my coaches and my staff. That's really the people I'm trying to bring value to. Because if I can bring you value for working for us, then I think you'll do a better job as a coach. And then your job is to be a good coach for those clients. And so, you and I have had this talk many times. Like businesses fail a lot of times because they don't really understand who their client is. And so, for us, like I think we have a pretty good handle on who we're serving. Our leadership team serves our staff, and our staff serves the clients. And then we try to provide great service to all and value to all, and that's who we'll be. That I'm sure of. That will not change no matter what. Like that is. Regardless of whether the economic downturn comes or whatever, we go to war, like whatever changes in the world, that is who we are, and that's who our culture is. We have our culture at Barbell Logic is that we are a people company, and so that won't change. So it's been exciting so far to see what's gone on in the online coaching side. It's continued to grow. It's been incredible. The Coaching Academy blew things out of the water in 2018. The certification launching in 2019 is a super exciting thing that we're moving towards, and we'll see what comes from here. But I'm excited about it. I'm mostly thankful that I'm surrounded by people. Like I get up every year at the coaches conference and I just look around the room and see who our coaches are at Barbell Logic, and I can't hardly, my mind can't comprehend it because the people that I respect more than anybody on earth are part of this community of a business that we get to work in every day. And it's awesome because we get to work in it. Like right now we're doing this podcast. I'm sitting in my home in Springfield, Missouri. Scott, you're sitting in your home in Tulsa. Bill, you're sitting in your home in the middle of BFE, Indiana. And we all still get to, and we all so we get to live where we want and work when we want and provide value to people every day. And that's really cool. And that won't change. That's who we are.
All right, there's another Barbell Logic podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, tell a friend about us. Go to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. I haven't had any in a little while. But, go do your thing there, and maybe we'll use your review as a little fodder for some content in a future episode. And always, you can send your questions to questions@barbell-logic.com, and we will answer your question on a future question answer show, which is the big Saturday show where it's coffee with Scott and Matt. We'll talk to you guys in a few days. Oh, clearly. I've been to Walmart.